This is God's Quality Control 14.1. It is astonishing to hear what most people think about the man known as Jesus Christ, as compared to what was actually written down about him and enshrined in the Christian Bible, which is the closest thing we have to an account of his life. Although there are many reasons for the disconnect, in modern times the main reason seems to be movies. Anyone who has read a book that's been adapted for the cinema will know that Hollywood often departs from the source material, sometimes just a little, sometimes a lot. This will be a series in which I'll compare and contrast various movies about Jesus with what is actually written about him in the Bible. In this video, The Passion of the Christ, directed by notorious anti-Semite Mel Gibson. This movie graphically depicts the brutal, gruesome, extended tortures and execution of Jesus. That really is all the movie's about. While there are a handful of flashbacks to the time Jesus had spent with his friends and followers, the bulk of the movie consists of scenes of Jesus being mocked, spit on, punched, beaten, scourged, driven by whip-wielding Roman soldiers through the streets of Jerusalem, and finally crucified. Although most of the scenes are connected to actual scenes described in the Bible, speculative embellishment affects the tone and narrative significantly. Satan appears frequently in the movie, harassing and taunting not only Jesus but also his disciples Peter and Judas in their own moments of vulnerability and agony. That's not in the Bible. Satan appears only once in the Gospels, way back at the beginning before Jesus begins his ministry. He doesn't taunt Jesus, he simply challenges him to prove that he's the son of the Jewish God. Incidentally, I would have to side with Satan. Why should anyone simply accept Jesus' claims without some kind of credentials? In the Garden of Gethsemane, where he wrestles with overwhelming dread of his coming travails, Jesus tells his inner circle of disciples, Peter, John, and James, that he doesn't want the other disciples to see him in this state of extreme anguish. Not only is this noble sentiment absent from the biblical account of the scene, Jesus simply is not the type to suffer in brave silence. In this very scene, he indignantly scolds his disciples for falling asleep while he was praying. The Bible shows him frequently sniping at them over their inadequate faith and general lack of understanding, complaining about not receiving the honor due a prophet in his hometown, and cursing a tree for not bearing fruit that's out of season. He even publicly disowns his own family and announces that anyone who loves their own flesh and blood more than they love him is not worthy of him. The movie correctly depicts Jesus scolding Peter for fighting the soldiers when they come to arrest him, saying the famous line, "Those who live by the sword die by the sword." What the movie doesn't show is the scene from the Gospel of Luke where Jesus expressly orders his followers to bring swords. This is not a noble person concerned that his own distress might spill over to his companions. Sadly, the movie is mostly faithful to the biblical insinuations that the Jews were responsible for Jesus' suffering. Many people incorrectly think that anti-Semitism has been a thing since forever. The truth is, Christians started anti-Semitism and baked it into church doctrine until 1964. But the Jews didn't punish Jesus. Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, ordered Jesus executed not for offending the temple priests, not for anything relating to religion or truth or righteousness, but because he was stirring up trouble during the Passover festival, inflaming the passions of the riot-prone Jewish festival-goers, and ultimately claiming to be a king. That is, Jesus was an insurrectionist. He was lawfully and rightly punished by the legitimate authorities. It seems that Mel Gibson didn't get the memo. That's 14.1. Thanks for watching.